Cyrille de Montgolfier, Global Head of Government Affairs at AXA, thank you for joining us today. I first wanted to ask you, what do you think people should take away from the Geneva Association Programme meeting?
I think it's a unique opportunity, to be honest. Of course, we have several meetings together, but having all the people being really involved in this process, spending 2 days together working, discussing, sharing, questioning, answering is, I think, really unique. And what is great is that the Geneva Association has a track record, if you want, on these topics. You have, with the Geneva Association, the experience organizing, inviting for this kind of event. And that's really important because we know that there are a lot of very critical decisions to be made in the coming months. And the fact to share, to feel where we are, to understand the key questions for us as an industry, to be able to be prepared for these decisions is really critical. So that's the reason why, for us, means in AXA, that's really important to be part of and to, of course, participate to the debates, because we think really that's a critical moment.
We see the global systemically important banks, we see the regulations that have been created for those banks. How applicable are those really to the insurance industry?
I think that the first thing we have to do is really to understand what has been the process for banks. That's important for us because it's a process which had started a few years ago, so that means before as it is done now for insurance. The second reason is that a lot of very important decision makers are more bankers than insurers. So that means they have in mind what has been done for banks. And we know, and we are absolutely convinced, and we try to prove, that the banking industry is not the same, and the banking model is not the same as the insurance model. But we have to understand the process they have followed for banks to make sure that the process we will follow now for insurance is really focused on the insurance needs and so for our customer needs. So that means we must know that. That doesn't mean that we should apply the same process. It just means that we have to understand it, to adapt it for the insurance industry.
Secondly, what do you think the implications are of the designation process in the US for the global process?
I think that, especially for us being Europeans, it's extremely important to understand into details what happens in the US. How it is organized, where are the priorities, how does it work between the state, the federal level, how it works for the different companies being G-SII or not. That means to understand really the local industry in the US. So that means the decision-making process we have in the US is for us extremely important, as I suppose it is important for them to understand what happens in Europe. And I think that's also really a very important added value from the Geneva Association, having both sides of the Atlantic working together, because at the end, the goal is the same on both sides. So that's having the opportunity to listen one to each other is really extremely important. I would add that for us, as AXA, as we have an important part of our business done in the US, of course, that's also another dimension for the added value of this kind of event.